When ancient Greece banned women from the Olympics, they started their own. Much like their modern counterpart, the Olympic Games in ancient Greece were not a level playing field for women. Women were allowed to enjoy the festivities and exhilarating athletic events in some city-states, such as Athens and Delos. However, the Games in Olympia, the city where the Olympics began, retained its traditional sacred ban of women. If a married woman was caught at the Olympic Games, she would be thrown into a river, according to the Greek writer Pausanias. Only unmarried women could watch, and no women were allowed to participate. During these ancient times, women lived much shorter lives. They were excluded from political decision making and religious ceremonies. Women were also forced to marry at a young age, and most had several children. Despite the societal inequalities and abuse, women in Greece wanted to play, so they started their own Olympics called the Heraean Games. Games for the goddess Hera. In AD 175, Pausanias wrote that 16 women would weave a robe for Hera, the Greek goddess of women, every 4 years. He also wrote that they would hold games called Heraea. The Heraean Games, a separate festival honoring the Greek goddess Hera, demonstrated the athleticism of young unmarried women. The athletes, with their hair hanging freely and dressed in special tunics that cut just above the knee, competed in foot races. Their track was shortened to about one-sixth the length of the men's. While Greek women were not allowed to watch the men's Olympics, it is uncertain if men were barred from these all-female races. It was not that women were discouraged from sports in general. Physical fitness was highly valued by women in Greece. A few women drove chariots, swam, juggled, performed acrobatics, and potentially even wrestled. Spartan women were well known for promoting physical education. They believed good fitness would lead to healthy childbirth. By the first century, female athletic competitions were common under the Roman Empire, but the Olympics still kept its ban. Two Heraean Games legends. Scholars are unsure of when the Heraean Games began. Some estimate that the event could be as old as the first Olympic Games, which traces back to 776 BC in Pausanias' detailed recording. In Pausanias' detailed recording of the Heraean Games, he states that the women's foot races go back to, quote, ancient times. He writes two theories about the origins of the Heraean Games. The first associates the Heraean festivities to the queen Hippodamia, who married Pelops, the son of the king of Lydia. To show her gratitude for her marriage, she created the games to thank and honor Hera. Hippodamia selected 16 women to compete in foot races. The second legend says that the games were a result of resolving tensions between Elis and Pisa, two cities in Greece. The citizens of Elis chose one wise elderly woman from each of the 16 Peloponnese city-states to weave a robe for Hera every 4 years and conduct the games in her honor as a symbol of unification and peace. The women who won the Heraean races were crowned with headdresses of olives and awarded a portion of the cow that was sacrificed to Hera. Pausanias also wrote that there were statues dedicated to the victors with their names carved on them. However, no statues have ever been found at Olympia. Spartan girls rule. There are few records about the individual athletes or the cities that sent women to compete. It is thought that Spartan girls often ran and won the Heraean Games because the city was nearby. The only known winner anyone has discovered is the mythical Chloris. She was the granddaughter of Zeus and a niece of Pelops. She is said to have been the first winner of the Heraean Games. There is a statue in the Vatican that people believe might be Chloris, and this has never been proven, though. Other women have been recognized as Olympic winners. Siniska, for example, entered her horses in the chariot races and became the first female to win at Olympia. First female Olympians set the example. Skeptics debate whether the Heraean Games were even real. The little evidence that exists is based on a few documented accounts. If numerous Spartan and other Greek girls won the Heraea over the several centuries, why do we not read about the Heraea until Pausanias? Historians Gerald Slouch and Stephen Wen argue. The lack of documentation of the Heraean Games suggests that society saw women's sports as unimportant, says sports studies professor Betty Spears. For each vase that shows women playing sports, there are many more showing men doing the same thing. These days, though, women rule the Olympics. Gymnast Larissa Letanaya holds 18 Olympic medals, the second most to be won by a single athlete. 45% of the 11,520 athletes at the 2016 Summer Olympics were women, the most ever. While perhaps underappreciated during their time, the first female athletes at the Harayan Games set an example for women Olympians today.